Hey there, welcome back. It is Cindy. We're working in QuickBooks Desktop 2022, and we've made it all the way down now to Module 4. This is the module where we're going to talk about working with customers and jobs. You can actually call this accounts receivable. We're going to talk about setting up customers in this module, invoicing. We're going to talk about estimating, receiving payments, anything having to do with accounts receivable, we're going to cover in this module. This is the first video where I want to start helping you set up your customers and your jobs. There are two parts, so make sure you watch part 1 and 2 to make sure you have your customers and jobs set up correctly. Let's go ahead and flip over to QuickBooks and we'll get started working with those customers and jobs. A customer is a person or a business that buys from you. A customer might have different jobs that you're working on for them as well. I want to take you into the Customer Center and show you where the list of customers and jobs is and how to work with that list. Before we do that, remember that this section here is your accounts receivable section, and this is where you're going to do most everything related to customers. The easiest way to access the Customer Center is to click right here, but before I do that, let me just point out you can also access the Customer Center from your icon bar, or you can go up to Customers on the menu and choose the first option, the Customer Center. And I'll go ahead and do that. This is a listing of all of the customers and jobs that you have already set up in QuickBooks. Before we get started looking at the list, let me just tell you a little bit about how this screen is actually set up. You'll notice here on the left, you're seeing every one of your customers' last name, comma, first name, and they're in alphabetical order. These that look indented, these are jobs for that customer. This is the balance the customer owes you. And this column over here would allow you to create an attachment and actually attach a file to that customer. And that way you don't have to get all the way out of QuickBooks if you're looking for something specific that you've already attached. If you're clicked on a customer, you'll see that customer's information right over in this section. You can see all of their information as far as their address, their phone number, their email. And over on the right, you're going to see some reports for this customer or job. This section here allows you to look at different transactions for that customer. Maybe you want to look at contacts, to-dos, notes, or sent emails. And we're going to go through all of this, but I want you to get just familiar with the screen itself. Let's go ahead and add a customer so that you can see all of the information needed when you're creating customers and jobs. The easiest way to do this is you'll see an option right here that says New Customer and Job. When you click the down arrow, you'll see 3 choices, the first one being to add a new customer. The first thing you need to tell QuickBooks is what is the name of the customer. If you remember, the customer name was alphabetical, last name, comma, first name. It's not going to alphabetize them automatically. You'll need to actually type in their last name and then put a comma and put the first name. Then it will sort by the first letter of the last name there. The next field that you see says opening balance. What this means is how much money did the customer owe you as of the start date of your company file. You might want to leave that blank. If you're just starting your company file new, what you might want to do is actually enter the invoices that aren't yet paid for that customer. If you just have a balance here, your accounting will be correct, but you won't have any way of going back and looking at one of those invoices that's still open. Notice that I'm on the Address Info tab, and the first thing it asks me is what is the name of the company. If Tom Allen works for a company, then you can type it in. If not, you can leave this blank. And I'm going to say he works for ABC Plumbing. Notice there is a place for the full name. You can say Mr. Tom. And of course, you've got the middle initial and last name. A common question is, if I have the name here, why do I need to put it in here? This field right here allows you to put the customer's name in that list that we saw right over here. Remember this? It's going to put it in that list. However, if I wanted to do a mail merge, it would pull from these fields right here, so it's important to have these filled in. You can see that you can fill in the job title, and then all of these fields down here you can actually edit that field to represent any of these options that you see on the drop down. Now here's something really important. You'll see when I typed in ABC Plumbing Tom Allen that it populated this right here, but this is the actual address block that's going on a customer's invoice. So you may want to click in there and set it up the way you'd like it to be. I'm going to say attention Tom Allen, and then I'm going to go ahead and put in a P.O. box. Here I'll put in the street address. We'll just use a P.O. box in this case. Then I can go ahead and hit the enter key and go ahead and put in the city, state, and zip. And we'll just say this person is in Charlotte, North Carolina. If you wanted to have a separate shipping address, maybe you like things for this customer shipped to the job site as an example, you could type that in over here, or you can just copy this address to this one. But if you don't ship anything, you really don't need to fill in this section right over here. Now let's go up to our tabs on the left and click on Payment Settings. The first thing you'll see here on the Payment Settings tab is there is a field for the account number. If you give your customers account numbers, you can fill this in. If you don't, you can leave this blank. The next one you'll see is for payment terms. You might give different payment terms to different customers. Maybe if it's a new customer, you give them terms of due upon receipt. And maybe if it's someone you know well, then you might give them net 30. We'll just add net 30 in this case. The next field asks you what is their preferred delivery method. Do they prefer to have things emailed to them, mailed, or neither? And is there a preferred payment method? Now this doesn't mean that they're going to pay you with their Visa card every time. It's just giving you information, letting you know that they usually prefer to pay with their credit card. You'll notice there is a place down here to store your customer's credit card information. I probably wouldn't do that because if someone gets into your computer, you are liable for that as a business. If you've got someone that wants you to keep their credit card number on file, just write it down somewhere and just keep it safe so that no one can get access to it. You'll see over on the right, there's a field for a credit limit. What would happen is if you set a credit limit for your customer, and you invoice and those invoices exceed the credit limit, it will pop up and ask you, would you still like to sell them something? And then you can just bypass that. There's also a field for price levels. If you decide that all of your commercial customers should get a 10% discount as an example, then you can set that up. I'm just going to click on Add New for a moment and just show you what the screen looks like. The first thing you would do is put in a price level name, commercial for example. And then you can see that you can tell QuickBooks that every time you invoice a commercial customer, their price level will either increase or decrease by whatever percentage you type in. And we've got commercial already set up back here, so I'll cancel that. But that's how that would work, and it would automatically give them that discount. You can also set up online payments for your customers. If you want to have a button that they can click on once you email the invoice to them, that button would allow them to actually pay you with either a bank transfer or credit card, and you could set that up with Intuit. Let's go over to the Sales Tax Settings tab. If you charge sales tax to your customers, then you can specify whether this customer is a non-taxable or a taxable customer. A nonprofit organization, for example, would be non-taxable, where a regular customer would be charged sales tax. You also would tell QuickBooks what is the most common tax item. You would have to have these set up already or go through and set them up here. These are actually set up in the items list, and we'll discuss this in a later module. And also there's a field for the resale number. All that means is, let's say that I sell physical products in my store, and one of my customers sells physical products as well. They might have a resale number already set up that they can give me, so that when they purchase those products from me, they don't have to pay sales tax. And this would be a good place for you just to keep that information. The next tab says Additional Info. This is where you can categorize your customers. You can see in this example, they have commercial customers and residential customers. If you work with sales reps in your organization, you can set them up here as well. And then these fields that you see on the right, these are created by you. All you have to do is click on Define Fields, And if you have a new field you want to add, just type the name of it here. And then check underneath each of these if you want that field available for customers, vendors, and/or employees so that you don't have to set it up 3 different times. Now the last tab says